Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pause for Pedagogy. This is a conversation with Summer Odom and Valerie McKee, a tool for teaching personal leadership online, the real-life leader in the mirror. I'm Dan Jenkins, and I'm Chair and Associate Professor of Leadership and Organizational Studies at the University of Southern Maine and co-editor of the Pause for Pedagogy series. The International Leadership Association and I are thrilled to welcome Summer and Valerie to our latest conversation in the Pause for Pedagogy series. So welcome, Summer and Valerie.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'd love if you all would begin just by sharing a little bit about yourself. Summer, if you want to start, and then we'll go to Valerie.
Sure. Summer Odom. I'm an associate professor here at Texas A&M University, and I've been at Texas A&M for a really long time. I got my 20-year pin last year, so just enjoying the being tenured and getting to do lots of new research. So it's great.
That's great. Thank you so much. And Valerie?
Well, thank you, Dr. Jenkins, for having me. I am currently at the University of Florida. I first worked on this study and this article with Dr. Odom back a few years ago when I was at Texas A&M for my master's. I now am at University of Florida working on my doctorate degree. Should be finishing that up next year, probably August sometime. I also work for the UF IFAS Center for Leadership, essentially our extension system at the University of Florida. We have a Center for Leadership, and I work as the programs coordinator, doing all leadership things for our ag and natural resources here in Florida. So again, I'm just excited to be here. Great.
No, thank you so much. We're excited to have you all and give you an opportunity to share some of the work that you've done in your classrooms and in this particular instance across institutions. So that's great. So let's start with this question. So what was the inspiration or motivation for doing this work and writing this article?
I guess I was teaching leadership online for a few semesters and wanted to incorporate something that was creative. Students do a lot of personal assessments in the course, and so and just trying to find a way to tie that all together. I'm not a fan of giving like a final exam in this class, just because I don't think the content lends itself well to a kind of multiple choice exam. And so really trying to find something creative that would allow students to write, but combine their personal assessments throughout the semester. And so Val and I brainstormed about some ideas, and she came up with the title of it, and just our thoughts kind of came together, and using popular culture, the media, and then having students write about themselves.
Sorry, Valerie, would you add anything?
Yeah, I just remember those initial conversations with Dr. Odom, and I used to love, as her grad assistant, brainstorming with her about new assignments. She was always open to new approaches with her students, no matter how many times she had taught the course. And so it was just super awesome to be thinking about how we could tie everything together that we presented in this course, but then also allowing the students to have that opportunity to kind of emulate or see themselves in a celebrity or some kind of pop culture figure. Recognizing kind of like there's like that meme of like the cat looking into the mirror and seeing the lion. It's that idea, but at the same time bringing that self-awareness piece together. And so it was just really cool to be able to work with Dr. Odom on this and see it work, see it really bring students ideas together from the course.
That's great. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the practice, and what are some lessons that you've learned about teaching leadership online from facilitating this assignment, from listening to students' feedback, and from reading the assignments?
I personally have enjoyed seeing what leaders students choose throughout the assignment, and students are very reflective about they have to choose someone who is like them, not a leader that they look up to or they think is a great leader, but just someone that is like them. So it's really a challenge to find, someone who is maybe an introverted leader and they're an introvert, or someone who maybe shares some of their same values, or the way they, their strengths. So that's kind of a challenge. So it's been kind of fun to see that part of it. And some students are really critically reflective about that aspect of, wow, I didn't realize that I had the ability to be a leader, and I look at myself and how this person leads, and I realize that I can also, be a leader. I may not be a leader like, Oprah, or I'm not sure that's the greatest example, but, a leader that's well known. They're not going to be on that level, but they can still do things that enable them to lead. So.
Yeah, Valerie, what would you add?
I'm delighted that Dr. Odom has continued to use this assignment with her online courses. I just remember reading the reflections or reading those assignments then and just being amazed at the types of individuals that students found, again, with that challenge of how do I find somebody who's introverted and like me, or somebody who might have this particular strength. And yeah, it was a really neat way to synthesize this semester.
Mm-hmm. I love the angle that y'all take, that this idea of, not necessarily someone who they emulate, but, that idea of, someone like you, and how to, just going through that process through, a developmental, brainstorming and searching, and what does that mean? Like me, like, am I, do they have to also be, the same gender, the same age, the same, in a similar, area of industry, and so many things that students can kind of search and do some, I guess, self-searching in some ways. But I saw some of the examples of the people that some of the individuals that your students had wrote about, and it was all over the place, from Hillary Clinton to Dick Cheney to, to Dempsey to Oprah, as you mentioned, Yoda from Star Wars. That must have been a fun one. And so, how do you put yourself in those folks' shoes, or maybe no shoes if it's Yoda, but it really does support students really doing some real metacognition, I think. So what advice would you give leadership educators that want to facilitate this learning activity in their online classes, or in another type of leadership program?
I guess I would say, I try to keep a fun angle on it,
Mm-hmm.
And promoting, this is an opportunity for you to look at, some leaders more in depth, but in the light of how they are like you. And so trying to get students, pumped up about that aspect of it. Although I've seen, I don't think it takes a whole lot for students to get excited about it. I haven't heard any negative things about the assignment. The one thing I would say in terms of the learning outcomes is trying to make sure students are focused on the course content, and that they're really able to pull that through, because it's really easy for a student to just talk about the leader in general, and then for them to kind of apply some general characteristics of themselves, and so to really focus on that terminology of the strengths, emotional intelligence, values, authenticity. So really to hit that hard and remind them that they need to focus on that course content as they talk about the leader.
Mm-hmm. Is there like did they cut you off?
Nope, you're good.
I was just wondering, is there like a minimum number of, citations or course concepts that they're required to, to hit, if you will, as they're writing the paper? Is that one of the expectations of the assignment?
Yes, there are at least 3 course topics that they have to hit on, and so that's graded with a rubric. We don't have a minimum number of citations, although that might be a good thing. They tend to cite a lot of the leader, because I tell them they can't like use their mom or a cousin, somebody like that. It has to be somebody they can find information on. So, but they do need to cite information from the course as well. But there's no minimum number of citations. Maybe I should add that to requirements, but at this point I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know what might make it more helpful for students. I certainly see that anytime that you try to reach out to something that's pop culture or media. Sometimes students get so entranced in that part of it that they forget, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be doing some academic work here, and not just doing some work on my own development. But oftentimes they go hand in hand, and so that's the beauty of an assignment like this. So, Valerie, what about your experience? Any advice you'd give to leadership educators who might want to use this learning activity?
I remember thinking about as an outcome with this assignment too, that certainly, we want students to walk away with, as a learning outcome, greater self-awareness, greater understanding of themselves because of the synthesis that can come from putting these assessments together in this assignment, but also the fact that they're having to be able to use their leadership lens to look at others and recognize characteristics as well. That's something that I think that leadership educators, we really should also hone in on. We harp so much on self-awareness, which is a great thing, but certainly, it's the for what. You've learned about yourself. Now, how can we relate to others because of your understanding of yourself? And so because they're able to use this lens to try to look at somebody that's recognizable, I think it's that practice of being able to recognize characteristics in others. And again, I just thought that was a really cool thing that this assignment brought together, was that ability to not just look at yourselves inwardly, but also think, how can I see things in others as well?
Mm-hmm. I love that that shifting of perspective. Mm-hmm. So where do you see, some of the things that you've learned from this assignment? Where do you see future research or writing headed in this area? What we all be writing about next?
I would say that there's not a lot of research right now on teaching leadership online. So certainly, like you tell, some students are still, some not students, but people are just leery about the notion of teaching leadership online. How can you possibly teach leadership in online format? So I think more research needs to be done on, looking at effectiveness of teaching online, and maybe even starting with like how do leadership educators teach online? What are the methods that they are currently using? But then doing some comparisons. We have an all online leadership minor that just went all online, I guess this semester. And so, it'll be a little bit before we can do some assessment and outcomes of that, but it'll be interesting to see how the outcomes compare.
That's great. Yeah, Valerie, what about you?
I just want to echo what Dr. Odom was saying. Just recently, for personal reasons, I was looking at some online literature, and basically there was a study by Berenson, Boyles, and Weaver that basically said that self-awareness, personality, resilience, all these interpersonal characteristics help online learners gain greater success both academically and in their satisfaction with the courses. And so just the fact that we could be working towards teaching leadership online, it goes hand in hand. I think that we're growing students as they're learning online as well. We think of online environments being this like stale learning environment, but the opportunity to use assignments like this so that students can gain self-awareness and engage better in their courses, I think is just a win-win. So I echo what Dr. Odom was saying in regards to this.
That's great. Yeah, I'd agree. We don't know too much about, what happens in online leadership classes. They're certainly growing. I know that from, we have an online minor, and in fact, students can complete our minor, our major, and our master's completely online if they choose. Some do, some don't. We've got about a split, but we are able to get more students into our programs from across the state of Maine and other parts of New England because of that online option. And some people choose to do it as a hybrid of, I'll take a couple online, I'll come to class for this one. We also do a lot of synchronous learning, which, creates its own challenges when you're trying to do interactive activities and small group work and things like that. And so, yeah, there's just just a little bit of literature on, what's currently going on in leadership education online. And, that was one of the reasons we jumped into doing a whole series this year in Pause for Pedagogy on, technology enhanced leadership learning. And so this was a fun one to feature. So anything else you'd like to add or share about your work?
No,
Good.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Pause for Pedagogy is an initiative of the Leadership Education Member Interest Group of the International Leadership Association, and articles and videos are available at www.ila-net.org, and you can follow us on Twitter at @the_ILA. Thank you so much, Summer and Val.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.